The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
And here we are, week 1 of the 2025 CFL season. Sheldon Jones. Now, you have to humor me. I put together the new intro for the podcast a couple weeks ago now, but a couple weeks ago was also the 10th anniversary of the start of Two and Out. And we are now going into our 11th season of Two and Out. I cannot tell you how we got here. I can't believe we are here. This is probably year 2.5 for you, but I've now produced over 500 episodes of this show. The amount of CFL fans that I've had the pleasure of meeting coast to coast because of this show is something I'll never forget. It's something I never take for granted. I appreciate every single beer I have given to me at the Grey Cup, other than Ryan from Thunder Bay, because he keeps track of how many beers he's bought me over the years, which I didn't know he was doing until recently. So I have to start saving up for this Grey Cup in Winnipeg, or just completely avoid him somehow throughout the festivities, which that might be the way I do it. But dude, Sheldon, here we are. The 11th season of Two and Out. 10 years ago, the show started. Are you ready for another year of football or what?
Ready. I'm ready, and I'm not going to let you use the most famous Saskatchewan Roughrider player song ever to come true. 11 years, that's enough. That's not happening. We're going for 12 and 13 and 14. 15. Maybe.
You looked panicked when you said 15.
Yeah.
I don't know. At this point, I think I'm committed.
Hey, you got a committed co-host, let's say that.
Well, I'm glad that I have a committed co-host, and I hope you are along for the ride as well. Of course, our YouTube channel is nearing 750 subscribers, so subscribe to the show on YouTube. There's shorts up there. Obviously, you can see... Man, I wish video was here when the show started, because I had like no gray. And it started down the middle. I got like a skunk stripe, and it's slowly expanding over my entire beard. And that means my retirement plan is well underway. I've heard that mall Santa Clauses get paid way more if you have a real beard. So that's my plan in retirement, to be a Santa Claus. And I've done the Santa Claus gig before. And a few kids have come up to me and said, I don't want to, if any kids are listening, some kids are very skeptical of this, and they told it to my face, but I was filling in for the jolly old Saint Nick. He's a busy guy. He can't be in many places all at once, but I didn't deal well with that. So that might be something that I have to get used to, because kids can be harsh, skeptical, and but the nice ones, thumbs up to the nice kids.
Yeah, I have some grays in here too, but you can't see it. So
they blend
I hide
in.
it well. They do.
Wow.
And apparently I'm older than you. So just
apparently,
saying.
You want to compare birth certificates?
Well, I'm certainly not as old as you say I am sometimes.
Okay, that's true.
But I've done the Santa gig. It's, yeah, like you said, true. But at the same time, when my niece Lux was a baby, she would just grab my beard just repeatedly. And so I'm ready for that part of it. Like, once this goes white and I can make some extra money in the holiday season, that's good for me.
Yeah, kids, like, pound for pound, the grip that their little mitts have.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, it's actually wild. And how much that hurts. If they pull with the grain, it's fine, but if they start to go against the grain, yeah, I'd rather take a sharpshooter, a figure four, an ankle lock, Kimura, is that what the arm thing? I don't know.
You seen Carrie and Cross split baseball bats in that? Yeah. Maybe you don't want that one.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't want that one. There was a news story that came out a few weeks ago saying concussions in the league in 2024 were the lowest they've been in a decade. Guardian caps used in practice. Was it TJ Lee that used them during games for the Lions? And then there was a Roughrider that used them as well.
I believe it's Thomas Bertrand Houdon was using it. I don't think he used it when he was actually doing offensive plays, but I think he had it on for the special teams plays, which makes sense because that's when the most bang hits are going to happen. And this is great news. I know, concussions and CTE are huge still, and it's terrible. So I'm glad that the league, and they're not the only league because the NFL, they're down in the NFL too. So, but this is great. And I love seeing the players actually not worrying about what it looks like and just wearing these Guardian caps if they feel like they want to be a little extra safer, because nothing but good news or good things can happen with that.
Yeah. There's been a lot of changes at practice with limiting, padded practices and hitting and things like that. And I know there's some criticism as to what it may do for the quality of football. I do get that. But safety is definitely the number one thing here. And our players are what makes the game possible. If they weren't there, we'd have nothing. So keep them on the field as long as possible. Make as much of a living as possible from the game that they love. And that is only good things. Week 1 of the CFL season is upon us, but should we talk a little bit about those games first or the season-long predictions? What do you think?
Let's leave those season-long ones for the end. Let's get the games out of the way.
All right, let's do that. Week 1 starts in Regina. The Saskatchewan Roughriders hosting the Ottawa RedBlacks to kick off the season. Trevor Harris playing his old team. At this point, almost all of the teams are Trevor Harris's old team, so that's a thing. But this is a game. Holy crap, I could really see going either way. I liked the offseason for both the Riders and the RedBlacks, so that makes this game an interesting one.
Yeah, and just statistically, whenever Ottawa and Saskatchewan play each other, it's a tight game. Last year, we saw that game in Ottawa where whether it should have or shouldn't have, it went to overtime, and that it just, for some reason, these teams love to battle against each other. And Trevor Harris has a lot to prove. He's coming off of 2 seasons in a row where he's missed multiple games, and honestly, near the end of the last season, he was one of, if not the best quarterback in I'd say the back third of the season. So he's going to want to get in there and try to set the tone early, try to get the fans in Regina on their feet, and try to make it a long night for Bobby Dice and the Ottawa RedBlacks.
Now, I think both teams are going to try to focus more on the run this year, at least get the run going. Ottawa didn't have much of a run game last year, but William Stanback, he's carrying the rock for the RedBlacks. And then last year, I do feel like AJ Ouellette wasn't available as much as he would have liked to have been. So they are going to want to run the ball as well. However, both teams, I think, are going to be difficult to run the ball on. So I don't think it's going to be a 49-42 game on Thursday night. I do think it can be a very physical one, a very tight one at Mosaic Stadium, but a fun one to watch to kick off the CFL season. Now, the way that the schedule has worked the last few years, we had a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday nighter. This year, to start the season, Thursday, Friday, and then a doubleheader on Saturday. How are you liking that schedule to start the year?
To be honest, I don't hate it. I'm one of I'd say minority of people who like the Thursday night games, because Thursday night, I get home, I get to watch some football, and it makes the next day, Friday, the weekends here. But I do like the 4 games on 4 nights just for my viewing pleasure, but also at the same time for that elusive one game and all that, going to, like, if somebody is able to attend a game every day, if they can ever, like, I know that happens sometimes, but honestly, for right now, a Thursday, Friday, doubleheader Saturday is actually really good. I think that's awesome, because then it gives you Sundays for going out to the lake or whatever if you want, but you're still able to get a good, 6 hours on Saturday night of CFL football if that's what you're into.
6 hours of CFL football, man. It's
Hey,
been a while since we can say that.
but I honestly love the triple headers too. So, and I know a lot of people don't, but I love a good triple header.
I say we just do a quad header on a Friday,
Let's
on a
go.
Saturday.
Let's go.
Let's get it in there. Old Dutch sponsoring the Pick'em. So just, man, a bag of chips a game. Just feeling great. My body just dried up from the sodium. However, like, I don't know if this is the old guy chips, but the Ripple lightly salted, I actually enjoy those because I feel like I can crush them and then I don't need to drink 3 liters of water afterwards.
Yeah, or in my case, Diet Coke. But I think that I agree with you. Lightly salted is one of my go-tos. I do like the flavored chips as well, but
Yeah.
Old Dutch, if you're listening,
We're your guys.
we're looking
I will
for
fly the
sponsors.
flag.
But okay, this is gonna be I don't know. This is my favorite Old Dutch. What is it even called? It's like the Mexican flavor. It's so good. Yeah, it's.
Is it the specialty bags?
It just has a guy in a sombrero on it. I just can't remember what it's actually. It's it's Mexican, I think, or something like chili flavor, maybe Mexican chili. I think is what it is. It's the best, honestly.
The Old Dutch Ariba chips too. Oh, some stock taco in a bag. Look, free commercials. Hey. Imagine if they were paying. Like, I would do a 30-minute infomercial.
And we didn't even talk about the kettle chips, because Old Dutch kettle, mesquite barbecue, jalapeno cheddar.
Wow.
Old Dutch, talk to us. Talk to us.
Friday night football. It's the Montreal Alouettes hosting the Toronto Argonauts. Now, these two teams, obviously, the powerhouses of the East over the past couple seasons. But they come into this game, the Alouettes remembering the East final from 6 months ago, where nothing went right for the Owls, and they just got crushed by the Argos. But the East final before that was the exact opposite. The Alouettes crushing the Argos. Now, if Chad Kelly's not available, Nick Arbuckle will be starting for the Argos. A new-look Argos team. I guess, especially on the defense. I think that they'll be able to put up points this year. I don't know if the defense is going to be as fierce as the past couple years, though. However, I do think Montreal's defense is still going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2025. Kind of an underrated unit a little bit, but those linebackers still are going to be able to put the Alouettes offense into good field position, stealing balls away from offenses. Like, still, that signing a couple years ago when the Owls won the Grey Cup of Darnell Sankey in the middle of the summer, and I know Sean Lemon's still on the sideline, but them coming in that summer really took them the rest of the way to the Grey Cup. And even though Reggie Stubblefield is in Hamilton now, I think that Alouette defense is still going to be flying all over the field.
I think so, and they're going to need to be, because we saw what Davis Alexander was able to do last year when he came in for Cody Fajardo, but this is a kind of a whole new system, not a whole new system, but a whole new ball game, because he is the guy now. He's not just a guy covering for the guy. So the defense is going to have to be able to give him more opportunities, because he may need a little bit of time to get fully on board here.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, some guys, they do pretty good as the backup, and we've seen this several times over the course of, doing this show, where, a guy will be the backup or come in off the bench and do well, but when you're preparing as the number one, it just seems to be a completely different animal. But as Cliffy D brought up a few weeks ago in our Montreal Alouettes team preview, he's had quite the learning tree. He's got to work under some CFL veterans, Vernon Adams Jr., who I think now is his 10th year in the league, which is wild. I think when we started the show, if I'm remembering correctly, Wally Buono engineered some trades with Vernon Adams Jr. to send him to, this is going way deep in here, and it's kind of fuzzy, I'll admit, over the years. But now he's going into his 10th season with the Stamps. But anyway, Montreal, he was there. Davis Alexander was there. Trevor Harris, he's played in Grey Cups, hasn't got over that hump quite yet. Anthony Calvillo, Cody Fajardo, Grey Cup ring. So Davis Alexander has talent. He's still 26 years old, and he's got quite the supporting cast, I would say. And hey, Jason Moss, I feel like he hasn't quite gotten enough credit for what he's done as head coach in Montreal. I mean, out of Saskatchewan, wasn't a popular as the OC. We know what happened in Edmonton, but he's a completely different guy in Montreal, and he knows a thing or two about playing quarterback as well. So Davis Alexander is quite the support system in his career so far.
Yeah, Jason Moss was able to come into Montreal and bring a culture of blue collar, lunch pail type of players who just play for each other, play for the team. And as we saw in Cody Fajardo's epic pregame Grey Cup speech about, F them, just watch, he's able to get that team fired up. And Jason Moss used to be too fired up on the sidelines when he was with Edmonton. Best gif in CFL history, probably. But he's learned to dial that back. And he was scapegoated in Saskatchewan. I don't think he was the right guy to let go at that time. And I think that proved to be true the next season when Craig Dickinson had his swan song in green and white. But Jason Moss became one of the best head coaches in the CFL, and he's been able to do a remarkable job with these players. So I think if anyone is overlooking Montreal, and if anyone thinks that Davis Alexander is going to struggle, they're going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening.
I think this is another game where these teams know each other quite well. And Brian Dinwiddie knows the Alouettes quite well, and you can't count out his win-loss record since he's taken over for the Argos, and it's been since COVID, and it was 2020. I think he was named the head coach of the team, and then the season didn't happen, and it seemed like maybe that was good for him. Just able to do more homework, be prepared for 2021. And the Argos have been near the top of the East, the beasts of the East, ever since Dinwiddie has come in. So they're going to be prepared for the Alouettes. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of new noisemakers are going to be on hand at Percival Molson. It's always a raucous crowd. A Friday night in Montreal like that is a place where I would want to be. Now, Saturday, we got that doubleheader going on, and it starts with the Calgary Stampeders. Vernon Adams Jr. and the Calgary Stampeders home to the Hamilton Tiger Cats with Bo Levi Mitchell, which always makes that an interesting matchup at McMahon Stadium. Two longtime CFL quarterbacks, man, and both definitely have something they want to prove. Bo Levi Mitchell last year, MOP level football, and at one time it looked like he was going to lose his job, probably more interceptions than he would have liked to have thrown, but still able to put up the yards throughout the air. And now he's got Kenny Lawler at his disposal, which is going to help him, and then Vernon Adams Jr. on the other side. he's got Dom Rhymes at his disposal. What they were able to do in BC previously. I see this game being the one that has the most potential to have a lot of offense going on. I think both teams last year struggled keeping the ball out of the end zone, and I kind of see the same thing happening in 2025 for both teams, at least right off the bat anyway.
Yeah, this game kind of, it speaks to me like if we had a UFC card, this wouldn't be the main event, but this would be the fight on the undercard that gets fight of the night, because
everyone remembers it.
Yeah, because they just going at it. But you talked earlier about Vernon Adams being in the league for 10 years. And this is 10 years of, and I'm going to say it, Vernon Adams still not being respected as to where he should be, because we finally thought that he got to that point in BC, and what did they do? They brought back Nathan Rourke. And now they traded him to Calgary. So now he is the guy in Calgary. But there's PJ Walker kind of at his shoes, trying to get in there too. But I hope for Vernon Adams that this is the place, this is the time that he gets to have that full, you're the guy, you're our ride or die, we're not getting anybody else, because I think he deserves it. And I hate for it because I don't like Calgary, but I want to see Vernon Adams be able to be successful in Calgary, because those fans need it. I take that back. They need some more loot. They need to lose a little bit more, because they've had so much winning. Yeah.
I was just going to say,
Sheldon's back.
Are you ready
Darren.
for another season of Stampeders fans in the comments coming at you?
Yes, Darren, I'm ready. Let's go.
Man,
Hi,
I was like, did Sheldon turn a new leaf? And then just like that, it was over.
Well, but okay, yeah. Kidding aside, I do want to see Vernon get the respect he deserves, because he deserves it. So hopefully that is the case here. I do think that Calgary, I do still think that they have some things that they're going to need to work out, and most of it is coaching. So I'm interested to see how Dave Dickinson is able to handle his coaching duties with his general manager duties. So we'll see if he's able to delegate a little bit more so he can kind of focus. But I still expect this to be a very entertaining shootout type of game.
And Bo is going to always have that chip on his shoulder and want to prove Dave Dickinson wrong, and the rest of Calgary wrong, that he still has it, and that he can still win games in the Canadian Football League. So yeah, I see that being an entertaining one, a nice Saturday night at McMahon Stadium. But then it wraps up on the West Coast. Somebody familiar with the West Coast, but in America, Snoop Dogg is going to be on the pregame concert for the BC Lions. Like, Snoop Dogg, BC, we know what they like. Oh, I'll tell you a story. How's that
ventilation system going to work? That's what I'm wondered about, because are they going to be able to clear out BC Place before these players start playing, or are we going to see some lethargic football?
Now, my first time going to a concert in Vancouver, I went to a Metallica show.
Shocker.
And there's, yeah, shocker. And there's this guy going up and down the line outside of the arena, and he has this KFC fries box. And I'm like, is this guy giving away KFC? He opens the box, and it's just full of joints, just handing it out. I assume that something similar will be going on in Vancouver. I want to see Admar Doman just get after it, like pregame with Snoop Dogg. Maybe this is not the most family-friendly comment, but I would definitely I'd love to see that Admar Doman have fun with Snoop.
Yeah. We're joking a lot here, but again, this is amazing. This is going to be great for the league, great for the BC fans there. But yeah, I would love to see that too. Lamar Doman needing the Visine before the Lions take the field. Let's go.
Hey, that's the West Coast, man. Anything goes there.
It's no different than a couple of beers nowadays, right?
That's true. That's true. So the players might have a bit of a distraction, I think, but that's okay. The BC Lions home to the Edmonton Elks in this one. Both teams looking new. Both teams have a new boss on the sideline. Buck Pierce for the BC Lions, Mark Killam for the Edmonton Elks. Man, and then the Canadian quarterback duel to wrap up week 1 of the CFL season. Trey Ford against Nathan Rourke. Both guys coming into this season as the guy.
Yeah.
Now, that happened for Rourke a few years ago, but then he went to the NFL, came back last year. Wasn't as effective as many would have hoped, but also he was just thrown into the fire. Wasn't he there for like 3 days before starting? It was something crazy that happened last year. So I don't know if the way that they handled the quarterback situation last year was the best, but it's what they did. And we're in a new season now. And I think both quarterbacks are putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and it's all going to be about who can handle it the best.
I agree. We talked about Calgary and Hamilton being a shootout, and I honestly see the opposite for this game because, as you said, we have the new coaches. They're going to be trying to, get their tone, set their tone. I think it's going to be a little bit slower of a build. I think the game plans are going to be a little different. I know that Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford have the ability to shoot out and gunsling, but I honestly see this game as like feeling each other out and trying to just grind out a win as opposed to just trying to shoot out a win, if that makes sense.
Now, both teams, they have offensive talent. The running back room in Edmonton last year, I know they threw Javon Leake there. I wonder if they're going to want him to focus a bit more on special teams this year, now with the emergence of Justin Rankin last year, and then James Butler back in BC as well. But Nathan Rourke going to be thrown to Justin McInnes a lot, going to be thrown to Keon Hatcher Sr. a lot, and in Edmonton, hey, maybe
Dominic
Alex
Grimes.
Well, and then in Edmonton, Alexander Hollins is there, who was in Vancouver last year. I watched an interview with him on the Turf District. What I wanted to know is last year it was all about Cactus Club and Bellini's. I wonder where his new spot is going to be in Edmonton. That was one of my favorite interviews I've ever seen at a CFL game. Maybe Solomon Elamimian chirping the Stampeders halftime is number 1 all time. But
let's not forget about Henry Burris chirping the TSN in the panel.
There's been some great interviews in the CFL. But Hollins is going to want to put on a show for the Elks. Stephen Dunbar is going to want to as well. I can see this again. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's before week 1. We've talked to 9 people that are diehards with their team, and now I feel positive about every team. And everybody has hope. Everybody's tied for first. That's the best part of this time of year.
Yeah, and we actually saw like legit parity the last couple of years seeming to happen. So I think every team does have reason to be excited about their season. Almost every team, you saw them get some good additions. You saw some teams, like Saskatchewan, who just tried to re-sign their core and then signed a couple free agents, and then those guys are both gone for the season. But other teams got out, like Calgary got Vernon Adams. Like these teams did try to improve for their fans, and us fans are going to get the benefit of that. And hopefully we just see a lot of. Like last season, there were so many games that were decided in the last 3 minutes or by a touchdown or less, and it was just so entertaining, and viewership was up, and attendance was up, and hopefully that just keeps going.
Yeah, I'm feeling the energy. I have a lot of hope going into 2025 that we are going to have an absolute blast. So, Sheldon, before we reveal your power. Actually, before we get your power rankings ready, before we make our week 1 picks, let's go over your power rankings. I'm going to put them up on the screen. This is your first power rankings of the season going into week 1.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to rip them to shreds, but that's fine. I don't have, like, we've discussed everything about these teams, so I'm not going to waste too much time on it, but this is it. Toronto's number 1 because to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? So they're the defending champs, so they get to be number 1. Winnipeg, I still think they're still a strong team. I took them for granted. I doubted them early last season, and they still got back to the show, so that's on them. Saskatchewan, I think they're a really good team, so number 3. Montreal, again, Davis Alexander, we'll see there, but I still think they're a very solid team and solidly coached. Ottawa, they're higher on the list than they were last year, just because I think that they've gotten so many more pieces to the puzzle, and I think they're gonna do well. BC, Edmonton, Hamilton, they're still pretty low. Maybe they're too low. We'll see a lot of movement after this first week, I think, and then Calgary, you still suck. You're number 9.
Sheldon Jones is in mid-season form. I love to see it. Our week 1 matchups: Riders home to the RedBlacks, Als home to the Argos, the Stamps home to the Ticats, and the Lions home to the Elks. I am picking the Riders, the Alouettes. Oh boy. The Ticats and the Elks. So 2 home teams, 2 road teams. Who you going with, Sheldon?
I have the Riders, the Alouettes, Calgary, and BC.
All right. Let's see what happens in week 1. Last year I did terrible at Pick'em. 2 years ago I did great. I don't know what's going to happen this year. Actually, these games I could really see going either way, but we'll see. We'll find out who's ready for week 1. And then I figure we get our crystal balls ready. We put it on the record. We make the predictions for the entire season. Who represents the West in the Grey Cup in Winnipeg in November, Sheldon? Who's doing it?
Call me a homer, but I'm picking Saskatchewan.
I like it. I haven't done my pick yet. I think I'm going Saskatchewan here. Now I actually think it's going to be Saskatchewan, Ottawa in the Grey Cup. Just get right down to the chase. You have Ottawa as well. I think Ottawa is going to have a home playoff game. I don't know if they're going to finish first in the East, but I think they're going to at least finish second. And this is the year. However, I've been thinking it's going to be Ottawa's year for a little bit here, but I just look at that roster and I think they're going to go to that Grey Cup, and they're going to be a tough team to beat in November in Winnipeg. However, talk to me before the West Final, and maybe I'm just going to go Winnipeg again. For Saskatchewan, Sheldon, I think to get to the Grey Cup, they need to finish first in the West. And Trevor Harris needs to be healthy. So a lot needs to come into the place for this to happen. This is why it's the crystal ball. If Winnipeg hosts that West Final again, I don't know how anybody goes into there and wins in that environment. We've seen that the past few years, and no team has been able to get by them at home in the West Final to go to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that. And again, all of these picks are just in a perfect world if the teams stay healthy, because we know that things are going to happen. But you're right. The Riders have to finish first. They really do. I do think that they have the talent and they have the coaching to do that too. So they were the only team that was able to re-sign every single All-Star they had last year. They were able to do that, and they got a couple additions. Again, Trevor Harris, if he's healthy, if he's able to play like he was the last third of the season, if AJ Ouellette is able to use that new leaner frame that he has to get 1,000 yards rushing, if Tommy Stevens is able to get those 69-yard touchdown runs and
Nice.
10 or 15 touchdowns, Riders, Grey Cup champions.
There is a lot of ifs. There is always a lot of ifs when it comes to this stuff. The most outstanding player for this year, I'm actually going to pick Trevor Harris just to be consistent, because I think if the Riders get to the Grey Cup, they're going to need him for probably at least 16 games. If he's going to miss 7-8 games, I think finishing first is going to be very difficult for them. But if he's on there for the vast majority of the games and he plays over that 16, 17, 18 games like he did last year, I think MOP level football for him. Who's your pick?
My pick is definitely Eugene Lewis. I think he's going to be huge for Ottawa. I think he's going to be that receiver that we all know he is, and he's going to get those targets and those touchdowns, and he's going to be one of the main reasons why I think Ottawa represents the East in the Grey Cup.
Man, I'm a big Geno fan. So to continue seeing him ball in the CFL, I'm all in for that. My most outstanding Canadian is Nathan Rourke. Sheldon, you?
Yeah, I think it's hard to not take Nathan Rourke in there. Either him or maybe Trey Ford. But if those guys are able to stay healthy, I think that's their award to win.
Well, hey, don't disrespect Brady Oliveira. Don't disrespect Justin McInnes. Hey, there's a lot of guys that can do it this year. And hey, now that I'm saying this stuff out loud, I feel like I am forgetting about Winnipeg, and they could make us all look like fools at the end of the day.
Well, that's fine. But so the reason why I say I think it's their award to win is just because, like you said with MOP and giving it to Trevor Harris, I think quarterbacks are skewed heavily in these picks. But if you have a Canadian quarterback who is able to, I won't say dominate, but win games and get touchdowns and maybe not necessarily get that top most outstanding player, I think they're kind of a shoo-in for most outstanding Canadian. So that's kind of why.
Yeah,
I'm not disrespecting Brady Oliveira or Justin McInnes or any of those other guys. I just think that if the quarterback is going to be Canadian and play at a top level, they're going to win that award.
And we're going to make our Coach of the Year picks. I am going to go with Bob Dice of the Ottawa RedBlacks. I don't know why. I guess I just have this feeling that this is the year for the RedBlacks, and if it does happen, I'll sure to play this stuff in November. If it doesn't happen, we'll just pretend it was never said by me or you or anybody else. What's your pick for Coach of the Year, my friend?
Yeah, and I'm still going with the same formula because I'm choosing Corey Mace. So our stuff really comes down to Ottawa and Saskatchewan being in the Grey Cup. But I think second year Corey Mace, I think he's built that culture to the point where the players can kind of take over there, and I just think that he's a great coach, and if fingers crossed he can become that new John Huffnagel, Wally Buono type of longevity, Mike O'Shea coach for the Riders.
Man, here we are, week 1 of the CFL season. I'll remind you, and I will put the links in the description that you can support the show on Patreon, just like Mark Rossetto, Julian Poirier, Joe Balaneski, Wally Walker, Michael Richardson, and more. Thanks so much for supporting us there. Find the links to play Pick'em and Fantasy with us on CFL Game Zone. I'm Travis Currah. He is Sheldon Jones. Enjoy week 1 of the 2025 CFL season. It is finally here. Let's go.
The Two and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to Two and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.